If you are in a hurry, please skip to 1 minute 20 for the method.
Buttons, for better or worse, are everywhere, and it's not just hobby sewists like me who need to know how to attach them. Maybe you're away at some big, annual, professionally crucial conference, your suit jacket buttons have just made a run for it, and your only salvation is the hotel's emergency sewing kit and your own two hands. Or maybe the school bus is leaving in 10 minutes, but your eldest has just chewed the buttons off their school uniform in a rebellious fit of anti-intellectual pique. ChatGPT, alas, cannot help with this one. Whether you're in one such tight spot yourself, or you just want to learn a handy new skill, allow me to show you not just one way of attaching a button, but I think the best way.
Again, if you are in a hurry, just skip to 1 minute 20 for the method. Now, even if you're a sewist yourself, as I imagine most of my regular viewers are, it might be that this method is one you've yet to encounter or attempt. And before we get into it, let me show you what I think is merely a good, acceptable way to attach a button. There we have it. You can do this by hand, but this is also how a machine, or most machines as far as I know, will sew a button for you. This is the finish you'll see on most industrial garments, and this will work just fine. But for me, this isn't as secure as it could be. With these little floating pillars of thread, there's too much rotational flexibility for my liking. For the button to stick around for the long haul, we want something firmer. With a minimum, and I really mean a minimum of extra effort, we can get just that. Let me show you how. What do we need? Button, needle, and thread. If your garment is heavier, like a coat or a jacket, then you can use thicker thread like this, if you have it. But don't worry if not, all-purpose thread like this will do. Ideally use a thimble too, but you can manage without if necessary, just be careful, you know. Cut a length of thread. It doesn't need to be too long. I think roughly twice the length of your forearm will do, I guess, depending on the length of your forearms. Thread the needle by bringing the needle onto the thread, rather than pushing the thread through the needle, like so. Pull the thread through so that you get two tails of equal length, and tie these together at the ends in whichever way works for you. Get your garment, find the point where the button's going on, you can mark it if that helps, and take your first stitch like so. Try not to make it too big a stitch, but don't worry about turning it on a point either. A few millimeters or roughly 1/8 of an inch is good. Get your button, I'm using a 4-hole and I'll sew it parallel rather than crosswise. You can do either as you prefer, and if your button is a 2-hole, the method's the same in principle. Bring your needle up through the bottom of the button. Any hole is fine to start with. Bring the needle back down through the matching hole, this one if you're sewing crosswise, or this one if you're going parallel like me, and if you're doing a 2-hole, well, it's the other hole. Take another stitch on the same point and pull the thread through, but not completely tight. You want to leave a little stand of threads between fabric and button, and this will help form your shank. Having taken that stitch, repeat the loop you've just done, up through the first hole, down through the second, so that the first pair of holes has 2 overlapping loops joining them and is attached to the fabric by 2 stitches. It can be fiddly maintaining the shank while doing this, and try not to worry about it too much. It's okay if the button ends up pretty snug to the fabric in the end, rather that I think than it ends up too loose. So we've done one pair of loops. All we need to do now is take another stitch and repeat the process for the other 2 holes in the button. Again, if you're sewing crosswise, these loops will form a cross of thread on top of the button. If you're doing it like me, it will form 2 parallel tabs like this. And if you're sewing a 2-hole, it's even simpler. Just take 3 or 4 loops in total. Now we've brought the thread through to create the last loop and taken another stitch to come back out onto the right side of the garment. Now you could stop here by tying off and snipping your thread, but the next steps really just take a moment and are what will really ensure the button stays put for the long run. First, wrap the thread around your shank several times, like so, to cover the shank. If your shank has ended up being quite short and squat, don't worry, just do as many wraps as there's room for. So we now have 4 columns of thread from our original loops, or 2 if you're working with a 2-hole button, enclosed in these wraps that we just did. Now, take the needle and stitch through the base of your shank 4 times, catching each of those 4 columns in turn. If you're working with a 2-hole, you can just take 2 stitches of each of the 2 columns. Don't worry if you can't quite see that you're catching them, just take a healthy stitch through the base of the shank and you are sure to catch something. Once you've done these 4 stitches, you are done. Simply snip the thread where it emerges out of the shank and go about the rest of your buttony day.
So, now you know not just how to attach a button, but how to attach it the best possible way. The way they do on Savile Row. The way no machine you're ever likely to use at home is ever likely to manage. If you found this video useful or maybe just interesting, then please give it a like and perhaps let me know about it in the comments. Likewise, if anything's not quite clear about the technique I've shown in this video, you can ask about it there too. In the meantime, if you're a non-sewist watching this, perhaps you've gotten a tantalising taste of what the sewing life could be like. But as is only natural, you might still be feeling a little bit uncertain about diving into this weird and wonderful hobby. If that is you, then why don't you check out this video where I list 10 common beginner worries, but also explain why you absolutely don't have to let them get to you. Honestly, sewing's the best. Join us.